Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
And I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on Wednesday. Here it is, midweek already.
It sure is, Bill. And
Into double digits for the month of January and the year.
Yes, and it ends up being a beautiful day outside, Bill.
Yeah,
a little chilly, but
a little on the brisk side.
Yes,
yeah.
But very pretty out. So
yeah, about the low 50s right now. But it was nice after that horrendous, still a little breezy, but that storm that came through, and we only got the last little tail end of it. Boy, up the coast, it really was bad.
Yeah, I was going to say not as bad as we were thinking here, which is good. I did hear that Bryan County still canceled school today. We'll see if they rescinded that, but yeah. I did hear that yesterday afternoon. So, but again, very beautiful outside. Take a jacket.
They really didn't need to cancel much yesterday.
No.
It was not that bad.
No.
I went to the Pirates House for Kiwanis. They said, "Oh, the meeting's been canceled." What for?
Yep. A lot of restaurants were closed yesterday downtown. Very interesting day.
Pirates House was open though.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I did too. Just wondered where our meeting was.
Yeah,
non-existent. So there you go. But nevertheless, err on the side of caution.
Yeah, and the legislators' first day was Monday. They have been in session now. Today is day 3.
Day 3. Mm-hmm.
And Senator Albers is actually bringing up the hot topic of swatting because we seem to have a lot of it going on these days.
Yeah, they're sponsoring bipartisan legislation, as a matter of fact. John Albers from Roswell, Republican, and Democrat Derek Mallow from right here in Savannah. And they told lawmakers exactly what they plan to do as far as introducing legislation to swatting, because 2 of our legislators were swatted in the last few weeks.
Several other department heads were all swatted. Those who think that this is a prank, it's actually a crime. I want to thank the senator from the 45th for leading the way on upcoming legislation that you will see that will add criminal and civil penalties on top of what already exists today. And for those that don't understand what swatting means, let me take a moment to explain that. As when someone thinks they're making a prank telephone call and saying someone has been either shot or murdered, and they might be then holding some type of hostages. Hanging up the phone, trying to solicit the police department to literally send a SWAT team and a cadre of other public safety vehicles to your house. This is extraordinarily dangerous, first and foremost. This literally could have cost someone their life.
Yeah, and 2 of our legislators did say that they were extremely terrified. It was terrifying that when it happened, but they also commented and thanked the police for being so professional and pretty much getting rid of easing the situation almost immediately.
Well, and the thing about it is, Bill, is it seems to really happen only on one side of the aisle. Usually people with an R behind their name are the ones being swatted, which is not good. And I hope that...
well, that's interesting because one of them was a Democrat.
Oh, who was it?
And I can't remember her name right offhand, but she was a Democrat legislator. And she said that one of the reasons that she thinks that she might have been targeted is because she gets along so well with the Republicans.
It wasn't Misha Maynard?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I'll have to go back. I'll have to go back and check. My crack staff is working on it as we speak.
Yes, and but Marjorie Taylor Greene's been swatted multiple times. Former governor candidate Candace Taylor has been swatted multiple times, and Candace has small children too, so it was a very scary incident for them, and she's continued to be harassed by different people, and some of the stuff she's told me that has been left on her doorstep and things like that. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Now, she lives in the small town of Baxley, Georgia. Okay, and so how does a SWAT team get put together? And this happened a little after midnight the first time, and how Savannah, is also concerned about the EMS situation because we're having a lot of trouble with late responding. They're shorthanded.
Well, the 911 calls.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Board of Elections Monday for their meeting, and one of the things they're saying that poll workers are terrified to work, and I don't really understand that because they've never had an incident in Chatham County.
Mm-hmm.
I've poll worked; it's been fine. There's no aggression, so I'm not really sure where that comes from. But anyways, I think that maybe people listen to CNN or MSNBC a little too much,
All right.
But they were talking about how, if anything happened, to call 911, and I kind of wanted to be like, hold on, have you guys called 911 lately? Because they don't answer the phone, and it takes forever.
About a year and a half ago, my wife was involved in fortunately, just a minor fender bender. Of course, it only took 9 months to get it fixed. But I thought it was going to take 9 months to get an answer. But I called 911 because she was busy at the scene. I was going to meet her there, and it rang 3 minutes with no pickup. And then I called the Chatham County Police, and it rang for over 2 minutes before somebody finally picked up.
Yeah, so that is a huge concern here in Chatham County. And I will say I've heard Derek Mallow speak a few times. I've never had a one-on-one conversation with him, but I do think that he is one of the most charismatic and potentially one of the most logical people that I've heard down here. He's very grounded. I think that his heart's in the right place. It's hard for me not to like him, but he is a Democrat. Yeah. And I think that he is, but I do think that there's like a difference. He definitely is really focused on, one of his main things is the affordable housing down here, which I understand because they are pricing people out of somewhere that they've lived their entire lives, and they're trying to solve the problem. But I don't know if the solutions are going to work, but I think that there are some things we need to look at down here because it has been devastating for some people that have been in Savannah their whole lives and can no longer afford to live here. So,
yeah. Well, that was the whole part of the legislation over 20 years ago, the Stevens Day bill.
Yeah.
That your property taxes would not go up as long as you lived in that domicile.
Yes. Well, when they keep raising other taxes, it doesn't really help you out. But
no, it doesn't.
So, but Derek Mallow here talking about what his priorities are for this legislative session.
I think when we look at the function of EMS, it's almost like police, fire, and EMS. And so I feel that that's a function that should be addressed by government. Many of our EMS providers are either nonprofits, for-profits, or some sort of combination, but they're not truly operated by governmental entities. And I think as a taxpayer, you want to make sure that when you call 911 and you request an ambulance, it's not somebody on the other end staffing for profit to make sure that they can afford to do it. This is a government service. I'm going to continue to make noise about the school choice voucher bill. I don't think that's in the best interest of Georgians. We're going to continue to work to address the need for more housing, what the state can do to get creative with state regulations for housing. I've got some bills about that. I'm going to address many businesses that are going cashless. To me, that is a discriminatory practice that you say, well, I only accept cards. With the amount of fraud happening across this country with people's identities, I think we should be okay if someone wanted to come into an establishment and pay with cash. It's legal tender.
So I do not agree with him on the school choice bill. I think that it is a very good bill for Georgians. I think it will help a lot with our school system here. Creating competition is not a bad thing. But I do think Lizzie Warren's with us, and she says swatting is a waste of public resources too. You're absolutely right.
Oh, yeah. And what happens if there's something going on the other side of town or something, and they can't get there in time because they're messed up? I was impressed with the fact that the lady, the lady that was swatted, that was mentioning this, that about the second or third time it had happened, just one cop showed up to see, said, okay. This is getting old. We're just coming to see if everything's okay. They went through the house, made sure everything was fine, and left.
Ridiculous.
So they didn't show up, with the entire team, like if they were a flight risk that from one of President Trump's friends, where they had to go in at 5 o'clock in the morning with 13 agents and automatic weapons and frogmen in the lake nearby.
And of course, the press was called. It's weird. It's weird how they were there.
CNN just happened to be there.
It's very strange.
Boy, I'll tell you, you talk about great timing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Wish I could have timing like that.
Yeah, boy, don't we all.
And Lizzie Warren says, Bill, the value of your house is frozen under Stevens Day. The county gets around it by raising the millage rate. Where there's a will, there's a way. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And also, a county portion of your tax bill will get that freeze. School taxes go up, up, up. Yes, they do. And school board races happening this year. So don't forget, if you live in District 1, 2, 3, and 7, all of those people voted to raise the millage rate. So make sure that you look into if you feel like they support you on the school board. There's been a lot of issues on the school board. I think it's always a good thing to try and get new blood into the school board and to all of these boards, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we have a changeover.
Yeah. Election, everything. Yeah.
So yeah, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Derek Mallow. He said, you should be allowed to use cash. This whole no cash thing, not working for people. I do think that he brings up a good point. There is when you use your credit card, and I know you went through this recently, your card gets stolen, and they were using it somewhere like randomly. And, people that want to avoid that.
One time was the UK, another time was the Philippines.
Yeah, so very, very strange.
And I remember even several years ago, I said, what is this charge here? And they said, did you spend $125 yesterday in Wheeling, West Virginia, CVS pharmacy? I said, I've never been to Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm sure it's lovely, especially at this time of year. But I was not there, no.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is that they give they cancel your card immediately, so you have to go get a new one. Thank God that the banks now can print their own cards, so you don't have to wait 9 business days to get a new one in the mail. You can get one right away. Now it's still an inconvenience, but at least you can get it within an hour or so. Once you get to the bank, it only takes a few minutes to get a new one, but it's got a brand new number on it. You can keep your PIN. You can keep your same PIN number, but a lot of the things that you probably, like me, you pay a lot of things automatically that you donate through your credit card. So all of a sudden, I get this call saying your charge didn't go through. I said, "Oh God, I forgot to call. Yeah, I forgot you were on that."
Yeah.
So I have a list of people now that I have to call just to say that, okay, I've got a new card for you now.
Well, so honestly, cash is the only way for you not to get hacked like that. So I do think it's I think it's important that we keep cash, because I do think that this digital currency is a little scary.
It is very scary.
They can track you, and they can shut down your accounts, things like that. We saw that happen to the truck drivers up in Canada.
Yeah. Oh, you're buying another gun? You don't need another gun. Yeah. You have 3 already that we can see here. So we're canceling this transaction. You put 20. You can't put 20 gallons of gas in your tank. You're driving too much. You can only have 10. So you think about this digital currency crap. And Dave Ramsey has a great resource on finances, and we'll be talking to Travis Chance a little bit later, about a half an hour or so, about your finances, and we'll talk to him about this cash thing. There is more of an emotional attachment to your cash. If when you go to the grocery store, and usually you know what you get for $100 at Kroger now? Arrested for loitering.
Yes.
So you give them a card, and okay, so it was $158. Boom. Okay, you're out. If you had to actually pull $158 out of your wallet and start counting it out, do I really need this cereal today? Do I really need this? These light bulbs. Most of them I got now are still working. So you think about it, because there's an emotional attachment to that when you're handing out that cash. Big deal.
Yes, and Lizzie Warren says, school board meeting today at 2 p.m. at the Whitney Complex, so don't miss that. And then Mary McCann Hybrider says, regarding credit cards, story of my life, Bill. So you're not alone. You're not alone.
No, I know I wasn't the Lone Ranger here.
Yeah, so I just can't believe they're trying to switch us to digital currency.
I can. They want to run our lives.
Well, I can't believe people are going along with it, because people will always go along with something that makes their life easier. If there's any sort of pain involved, they will take the path of least resistance.
Well, it's the same thing with electric cars. I think actually there's some people who actually think that the electricity is free. I don't have to buy gas anymore. I can just charge it up at the house. or I can just charge it up. Well, you don't have to pay for it if you go to Whole Foods. Thank you very much. I keep at when I go to Whole Foods, I always ask them, "Where's the free gas pump?" And they usually the lefties that work there don't appreciate that, but nevertheless, I like Whole Foods to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, I have my own issues with some of these health food stores. I think that they sell stuff that's not really healthy, but they market it that it is. But anyways, well, that's a whole nother thing.
For another day.
Yes. And Ann Drabeck's with us this morning, and she says, I agree, Bill. If I have to hand over cash, I'm much more likely to leave the impulse buy at the store. Digital currency can be turned off just like an electric car. Yep. It's all about control.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, something interesting, Kat McCormick, she's one of my favorites. Of course, I'm trying to think, I think she's out of Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
She is.
And she's a firebrand. We don't see a lot of her, but when you do see her, it's meaningful.
Yeah.
And she is now talking about...
Your IQ goes up.
Yes. Very rare these days to listen to someone and your IQ goes up.
That's the truth.
But she's talking about her experience with the impeachment of Mayorkas.
Mm-hmm. To get rid of him. And let me remind you, when behind closed doors, we told him, you're getting ready to be impeached. He said, you're not going to like who comes next. I asked him if that was a threat. Whoa. He just smiled. This man is dangerous. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he is two-faced. We need to get rid of him now.
What did he mean, who comes next?
Well, that was the big question. I asked him, I said, is that a threat? And he just smiled. And I thought, this man knows exactly what he's doing. This is 100% by design. They want an open border crisis, whether it is for a election, whether it's for future votes as they work to get rid of citizenship as a requirement for voting. We're not sure, but he was very, very clear in what he said, and there were other members in the room. So I will never forget that. And as we go to impeach him for his negligence, for him destroying our national security and eroding our national sovereignty, that will be top of mind.
Yeah, I wish somebody had gotten that on tape so we could play it over and over. Perhaps we will when you guys go into session.
How evil,
Bill. Yeah. And this proves to you that this is by design. They've already got somebody else in the wings waiting away. That's even worse. It's just like what's the best insurance policy a president's ever had? Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
If I were him, I'd get a food taster. By the way.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned, because I don't know what she's going to do if Biden ends up not running in March. So will it be the Michelle Obama is president? Yes.
Michelle Labelle. Yeah.
And will she choose Kamala Harris as her vice president? Girl power is what they'll call it.
Yeah, for sure.
Lizzie Warren, Mayorkas is only in power because voters chose Biden. You're correct.
Correct, exactly.
Thank you, though, for keeping him off the Supreme Court.
Well, all of these people. Lloyd Austin, we now find out he didn't tell anybody. Now, this is hard to believe because these people have Secret Service protection. And so he didn't just go to Walter Reed by, calling an Uber. So this is he should be fired immediately if not
he has prostate cancer. I mean, how does that go under the radar for as long as it has?
Exactly.
So
this is not an elective procedure as they originally told us that it was. Prostate cancer is not an elective procedure. Okay. All right, coming up next.
Well, we're going to be continuing to talk about the border and what's going on in New York. Of course, there's always something going on.
Yeah, no school today for the kids at James Madison High School because the illegal aliens have to have shelter. You ain't going to believe this. Stay real.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's scary that it can be put into anything and we can't even see it or notice it.
Foxy Loxy, Coffee Fox, and Henny Penny, making life better for Savannahans with their kolaches, tacos, coffees. They're just amazing. Buy local and keep the torch lit.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Wednesday. Here it is, the 10th day of January already. We have, right now in Savannah, we got 52 degrees.
Yeah.
Nice clear skies, though. It's a beautiful day.
It is pretty out.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
grab a jacket. You'll enjoy it still.
Yes, sir. Dress in layers, as the meteorologists like to tell us.
Yes, and Ann Drabeck says the open border is an invasion and about the takedown of America. It's about changing the makeup of America. And also, I'm waiting for Biden to declare amnesty for all these people he's just let in. So
have you seen the court dates?
10 years?
Them, we've got some that said, March 15th, 2031.
Yeah, no, we've got to do something. I don't know what we do, but we've got to stop this. And we'll be talking about some other things in just a minute. Mary McCann Hybrider says the Obama fourth term isn't that scary. And Lizzie Warren,
the third one's bad enough.
Yeah, it's been the worst by far. Lizzie Warren, maybe Austin's cancer was a turbo cancer that caught him by surprise. If he's not a hypocrite, he probably had 8 vaccines. So
fully vaccinated, though.
Yeah, could be. I just will never forget the face shield. That picture of him with the face shield on. It was just
and the mask.
Yeah.
These guys from the Pentagon that I saw were wearing masks and the face shield. I was like, are you just kidding me?
It's wild. I saw someone on the treadmill this morning on a mask. I'm like,
oh, please.
What are you doing?
God.
I just think it's bad how awful what they've done to people psychologically. People that are terrified to get sick now. And it's like, getting sick is just part of the game. It's just part of life.
Yep, it is.
And in New York, we had a mother filming them moving in illegals into the school yesterday. She is mad. The parents are upset. I can't blame them. Do you think that it worked the first time for all of the kids to go to school remotely?
Yeah, James Madison High School in Brooklyn. Now the kids are in class today in their homes. They're doing Zoom classes. So because the illegal aliens had to have a place to stay because it was so cold.
How does it feel that you kicked all the kids out of school tomorrow? How does it feel? You feel good? I hope you feel good. I hope you'll sleep really well tonight.
Why are you yelling at them?
Because I have a right to. That's why. That's why. Because I'm an aggravated mother. That's why. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Taking over my kid's school. Take all the kids out to sleep here tonight, huh? How long you staying?
A lady.
So they're going into James Madison High School where it's warmer because their facility that they were in was leaking or it was too cold or something of that nature. Did you notice the type of transportation they were using?
School buses.
I'll be darned.
Paid for by the tax money up in New York. That lady reminds me of the mom from The Sopranos. She has every right to be mad. I would not be okay with my kids being kicked out of their school so that these illegals that have not paid for that school, have no business being here, get to utilize it while my kid has to stay home and I perhaps can't go to work now. I mean, it's a huge stressor put on a family for no reason.
Because you got to stay home to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Because they're not in school.
Well, and Lizzie Warren's like, how long are you staying? Forever?
Yeah.
I mean, when is the end to this? And I don't think that this is just the beginning. I think that we will see a lot more schools taken over by illegals because they have nowhere to put them. And they're going to blame the Republicans. So just stay tuned for that.
Yeah, you're a racist and you're a homophobe and every other name that they can call you if you object to this. And the sub-moron that's the mayor there has got oatmeal for brains. Actually said a statement, well, we had to do this because these people would have been too cold.
Yeah, and Andre Beck says, time to homeschool. It's sickening using school tax dollars to house illegals. Yeah, but some parents do not have the ability to stay home with their kids. I know that there's some other options like a pod system and things like that, but I do think that we have relied heavily on the schools to take care of our children while we're at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that this started with, of course, the government thinking, you know what, if we push women into the workforce, we'll have double the income for tax money. So that's where this all originated from. So,
well, you can thank the feminist movement too a lot for that.
I thank them every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I'm so glad that,
that you do.
Feminism exists. I would give up my right to vote if only men could vote or only property owners could vote, because we'd be a conservative country. Imagine that, Bill.
Exactly.
The other thing that's really scary about the border is, did you see what's happening in Ecuador now?
I heard about it. About the attack on one of the radio stations or one of the media.
It was a television station in Ecuador, and one of the biggest drug cartel leaders broke out of prison right before he was going to be transferred to a high security prison. Mm-hmm. Timing is really good on this.
Yeah.
So this is what it looked like for them to invade the studio. This is crazy. This doesn't look real.
No, it doesn't.
But it is. And these are just people that came in and taking these people hostage.
What's this guy doing? Begging for forgiveness or something?
Yes. Yes, and
yeah, these are some of our visitors.
Yeah, well, what's really exciting, Bill, is the fact that 2022 to 2023, we had over, let's see, I believe 370% increase in Ecuadorians coming into this country. Like, do you want these people in your country?
No, not really. But they're escaping all of this.
Yeah, but if you think these people are not going to come here and do the same things, they don't live. Here's the thing that people don't understand.
Nike gear too.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that people don't understand is that they don't have American values. So letting these people in, they play by their own rules. They don't care what the U.S. has to say.
Hell no.
They're going to do whatever they want.
They come in here to be Americans.
No. And I'm very nervous for how many people are in this country and what we don't know about them, and the fact that they're living off the government. And
that means you.
Yes, the taxpayer. And we also don't know what the result of bringing this many people in this quickly is going to bring to our country and our stability.
We shut down our borders for 30 years back in the 50s and 60s. When President Eisenhower was in, and he stopped illegal aliens coming across. They started bordering up the Rio Grande. The Border Patrol was working very, very well. Do you know what they call the operation?
No, I don't.
Operation Wetback.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so they didn't go along with this politically correct language crap at the time. So it was Operation Wetback to keep illegal aliens from coming across, and at that time it was only just pretty much Mexicans. And by the way, because I know that there's a Media Matters group around here somewhere. I think it was one in Bluffton or Beaufort. So they're going to take anything that we say and take it out of context. And, well, maybe that'd be good publicity for us.
Yeah,
we might be able to get some advertisers or something.
Yeah.
But they will take what we say out of context. Oh, you hate Mexicans. No, love Mexicans. Never miss a Friday night at Tequila's Town, usually. The margaritas are fantastic. But nevertheless, it is the bad people that we are trying to take out of here.
We want people that want to be American. We don't want people that want to live here and send money back to their own country, because the other thing that people don't understand, when we're allowing these people to be part of the census and accounting for these people, and they get extra representation, guess what? Illegals, people that are not voting, even though they're not able to vote, they still have representation.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a problem, Bill.
Yeah, it is.
And
it's not getting any better right now.
No, well, it doesn't get any better. I'm sorry. Mike Johnson, very disappointed in you. The new Speaker of the House feels like the old Speaker of the House to me. But, of course, he's saying they struck such a great deal.
Yeah.
Last year there was a negotiation among all the parties, and they came up with a spending agreement. $1.59 trillion was the amount that was written into the FRA, the statutory law. We know that's the spending limit. Now, there were some side deals negotiated on that last summer. What I came into as Speaker was that situation, and so we went into the room and we significantly cut those side deals. In fact, we converted that into about $16 billion in real savings to the American taxpayers. So it's a step in the right direction. We've cut out the gimmicks out of that budget. We cut out the spending. And Liz, it actually amounts to the first reduction in non-defense spending in many years. So this is a step forward.
So, do you feel like he's...
my confidence is not exactly through the roof.
Well, and I heard, this was in December, there will be no deal without border security. Didn't hear one word about border security in there, did you?
Not one.
Interesting how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, Tim Burchett, he represents the Knoxville area of Tennessee. He's become one of my favorites because he is always going to tell you how it is, and he is part of the I believe he's part of the Freedom Caucus and the original 8, I believe. So, love him. And this was his take on the new spending bill.
Tennessee conservative Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, great to see you. Happy New Year. Congressman Schumer and Johnson, they teamed up together to continue the Democrats' inflation-causing massive overspending. The Freedom Caucus is calling this deal a, quote, total failure. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has said the honeymoon period is over for Speaker Johnson. You feel the same way? Where are you on all this?
Well, exactly what you said. Reduction in spending is not an actual reduction in tax dollars. It's just the projection of how much they're going to spend. And it's a pleasure to be on here, especially following my friend Chairman Comer, who does a wonderful job in oversight. There's nobody better at what he does, and he has made none of this personal. It's not been a lynching. It's going through with the facts. But getting back to the budgetary situation, it's a nightmare. When they said Schumer was on board, that just gave the Democrats in the House a free ride. And then you pick up 4 or 5 Republicans, which I'm sure any given day there's going to be that many, and they'll get them. And then here we are. We're taking in $5 trillion. What are we doing? Spending $7 trillion. And we're adding to that debt. It's up to $34 trillion, I believe I saw last, whatever that number even means. And so we've got to get back in our fiscal house back in order. If we don't have a border, we ought not have a budget. We ought to just shut the thing down. We 8 million people coming over in the last 3 years. That's the size of Tennessee, for goodness sakes. We just can't continue down this. And without any agreement on HR 2, which would effectively shut the border, I don't see us moving forward with this thing. But I know what the reality is, and the reality is that we've told people what we're going to do when we got elected to Congress, but dadgummit, we're not going to do it. We're going to say, we're going to stop funding. We're going to stop funding the United Nations or something else. And then what we do? We don't do it. We just don't do it. And one group will blame Trump, another group, but ultimately the blame's on Congress. And voters have got to wake up and stop sending these moderates to Congress. I don't care if you're a liberal or a moderate, but this anarchy that we're seeing in our country cannot continue. We will effectively lose our country, Chris. Thank you for your
the anarchy, and the thing is, the anarchy is in government. That's where the anarchy is. And, I remember the good old days when in divided government, you had the Republicans getting a little something. I don't want 100%. I know the Republicans can't get 100% of what they want. But at this point, divided government means Democrats get everything and Republicans get nothing. And I don't know how many Republican voters are happy about that. Last thing I want to discuss with you, sir, is the controversy out of the Pentagon. Over the weekend, you slammed Secretary Lloyd Austin and his hospitalization. Austin is out of the ICU, we're glad to report, and has said he says he has no calls to resign. Well, you wrote, POTUS didn't know that his Secretary of Defense was hospitalized until 4 days later. That's how safe America is right now. Congressman, shouldn't every American be alarmed at the level of incompetence from a regime that is charged with keeping our people safe, and they don't even know when a high-ranking regime member, their own high-ranking regime member, is in the hospital?
Yeah, on my other Twitter account, just the @Tim Burchett, I really ripped them because I think it shows the complete arrogance this bunch has. They have never passed an audit. In the last 5 or 6 audits. They can't account for $500 billion in assets. That's unbelievable. And yet, what did we do? We rewarded them with several more $1 billion in the budget this year. Republicans and Democrats throwing money at them. We didn't even get the transgender surgery removed from it. And, what in the world are we thinking? We're afraid to vote against these folks. They hold all the cards. They're arrogant. They're in the business of war, and dadgummit, their business is very good right now. And when you have people on both sides of the aisle that have investments in war missile defense systems and things like that, it's public record. You can go check it. And I know they all get ticked off to say it, but you and I both know what's going on. We are afraid to say anything about the industrial war complex. Eisenhower was right, and America ought to be ashamed of what we're allowing this Pentagon to get by with. Because it's not being unpatriotic if you go against the Pentagon, I'll tell you that, because what they're doing has nothing to do with patriotism. It has to do with power, control, and greed. And we ought to be ashamed of ourselves.
The executive branch can't keep track when one of their own inside of the regime is in the hospital. How do we expect them to keep this country safe? Congressman Tim Burchett, sir, thank you very much. Appreciate the time and the straight talk as always.
Unbelievable bill. So $16 billion.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah. $16 billion doesn't even cover, even pay 6 days of interest on the 34 children federal debt. So the cut that they made is insignificant at best. And it's not really a cut because they did side deals. So there you go. And let's see. The other thing is, did you know what the bill includes?
The transgender surgery is still to me is just.
You don't want to pay for that?
Not only do I not want to pay for it, I don't want these people out of service long enough to, when you have this operation, there's a recovery period.
Yeah.
If a war starts, it's not going to make any difference whether or not they're recovering from their surgery.
Right. Well, so what's in the bill? $65.5 billion to Ukraine, $14.4 billion to Israel, $5.31 billion to emergency funding for CPB to process illegals faster. That's exciting. Aren't we all excited about that? So I guess that's the Board of Security.
Of Defense?
Yeah.
What's that got to do with it?
This is what's in the bill that they approved to keep the government open.
I see.
And let's see. $2.3 billion emergency funding for ICE and $755 million for U.S. citizenship and immigration. Isn't that exciting that that's what we're paying for? We're paying to get these people into the country faster and get them processed to be Americans faster than ever.
Americans, please.
Yep. Really exciting stuff. I hope you guys are really happy with your government. I hope that you're really happy with all of our representatives that continue to say that this is a good thing, that what they vote for is good for the Americans. Lizzie Warren said Lloyd Austin did not want to have to resign his position. He will pull a John McCain and die in office before doing the right thing and resigning.
Mm-hmm.
And then Steve Stanton says Facebook is messing with Get Real America. No surprise there.
Hey.
There's no sound and I received no notifications that you were live.
Huh. Facebook purgatory, eh?
Okay. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. I will say that I've been struck on some other accounts that I'm involved with on Facebook, and it's because they don't like what we have to say. They feel like we're doing harm, Bill. So
yeah, if anybody's doing harm, it's Facebook.
Yeah. Andrevek says, agree, Steve, same issues here. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go to break, but when we get back, Bill will be talking with Travis Chance about your finances.
Mm-hmm. Yep, some CFG Wealth Management. Travis is on deck.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Welcome back to Get Real America. I'm Bill Edwards, and Brittany will be back just very shortly. And our good buddy Travis Chance here is our weekly visit with finances and what's going on in the world of money and finance. And Travis, with now the first quarter of 2024 underway, we're almost 2 weeks in. How are things looking on the markets, and what are your thoughts going in so far in this first quarter?
Bill, I'll be honest. I know you called me the eternal optimist. I'm very optimistic and very excited about this year. I think last year was a very wild ride. Obviously, we had the bank failure back in February. We had the Nvidia explosion in March that basically ran the market up. Then we had the Federal Reserve and the Treasury dump treasuries, and it was just this big roller coaster. And it actually ended on a high. We had about a 9-week, almost straight up rally. So I think what we've expected was going to happen has. First 10 days of this year, we've seen basically the markets are flat. They were down a little bit. They're up a little bit, but essentially flat for the first 2 weeks. A lot of that's consolidation. A lot of that's profit taking from the big tech rally that we saw. So I definitely think a couple things. Inflation is moving in the right direction. We have got obviously interest rates are still at fairly reasonable levels, 3.9 on the 10-year. You've got seniors and those of us with money in banks getting reasonable interest rates on money markets, checking, savings. Stock market's doing okay. We're seeing tech kind of cool off a little bit, but a broadening out of the rally in the rest of the market. So I don't expect us to have a 30 or 40% gangbusters, but I also don't think it's going to be a bad year. I think November and December, we have definitely beat this horse to some degree. We don't know who's going to win the election. We all have our opinions, but we don't like to vote red or blue. We vote green. So from now until the election, I think the market's going to kind of look through a lot of the static and the noise, if you will, but really nothing can change. And once we get through the election, we may have to have a different conversation this time next year. So I don't know. Other than that, I think we're all clear. But no, it's always fun. There's always something that's going to come up.
One of the things that was discussed yesterday by a financial expert who was on with Glenn Beck on his national radio show, and he said that the thing that worries him more than anything else is that the smaller banks may be in trouble. The large banks, we've bailed out, or they've gotten extra money or something like that, and they can weather these big storms. But most of us rely on our regional and local banks, and that they could be in hot water for loans they couldn't back up or something because of federal regulations and things of that nature. Any thoughts along those lines?
I think all of that is very. I think it's very warranted. I think the concern is definitely something I understand. Think about it, Bill. The small banks operate on such a paper thin margin as it is for the large part, and you have your fortress style balance sheets like JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, et cetera. Whenever they have additional regulations, it may hurt their bottom line, but it doesn't cause the carnage that it does in some of the smaller banking institutions. So I think your expert that you were referencing is probably right. I think you'll continue to see consolidation and M&A, mergers and acquisitions of smaller banks going into larger regionals, if not going under the umbrella of your Wells Fargo's, your Bank of America's, et cetera, just simply because they're going to fall by the wayside. Because our government, as Reagan said, is usually the problem. It's never the solution. And instead of actually putting in common sense, they put more onerous regulation on these banks that really hurts the ability for you and I as small business owners to borrow and access capital. And they don't put these regulations in with any kind of common sense. It's just, okay, there's a problem, swat it. Well, you're not understanding that may cause a ripple effect throughout the entire community. But I'm preaching to the choir on the lack of common sense by most political figures.
Boy, that's the truth. And we've talked, we've had this discussion before about the war on cash, that some businesses are saying, they're not going to take cash anymore. Derek Mallow, one of our Senate representatives from here in Savannah, has proposed legislation that said it is legal tender, it's real currency, you're going to have to take cash. I can understand if you're at Avis or Hertz, where you're loaning out, you're renting a vehicle that's costs $15,000 to $30,000 to $40,000, and they can't, and you just can't put down a $20,000 cash deposit, so they take your credit card.
Right.
But other than that, there are a lot of places that say, we don't take cash anymore. They said, yeah, you're going to have to take cash.
Right. Well, Bill, over 90% of all transactions globally are now done electronic. 90%.
Wow.
And here's the long and short. I think businesses, a lot of times it's more of convenience for them because, and I'm not saying I am in favor of it. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, sure.
There's no night deposit for a credit card receipt. There's no additional, unfortunately, there's no employees that money has to transfer through their hands and make it all the way to the banking institution. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm just stating the obvious. So I think sometimes it's more of a convenience factor than anything. It's more of, it makes, in some cases, could make record keeping easier. It could make, it could have a whole list of positives. Now the negatives are, like you said, there are a lot of people that don't want to use credit cards. I have clients that literally do not even have a debit card. Like, they are so against the electronic transfer of payment, they don't even have a debit card. They do check and cash. That's it. So I think, I could see both sides. I think businesses that don't allow clients or allow their customers to give them cash, I think, are missing the boat. But I think that's where the free market comes in. And, let's face it, if they're not doing what the consumer wants, the consumer will let them know because they won't use their services. So I agree with what you're saying, but I think we definitely have to understand there are probably reasons why they're doing it, but nonetheless, I agree with the representative. I think everyone, if it's a legal form of tender, you should have to accept it. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that we discussed earlier this morning was that the thing that Dave Ramsey talks about, your emotional attachment to cash. And I said, when I go to the grocery store and the bill's $122.38 or something, it's so easy to hand them this card. If I had to actually peel that off, pull that kind of money out of my wallet, I might decide that maybe I don't need the cup of soup this week.
Or maybe like me and packed on a few extra pounds. Maybe I don't need that tin of muffins or
ice cream or
the extra goodies. So, but Bill, isn't it something that's, to me, it's becoming more and more the norm. I'll take a quick second. Think about whenever you were a kid and growing up, and you go to the arcade, right? You save or you work, and you have this handful of quarters, and you're going and you're trying to pick, okay, this one costs 50 cents, this one costs 25. Which game am I going to play? Which one do I really want? Like you said, it's an emotional attachment. Well, now, you go to these arcades and these places, what do kids get? They're conditioned to do that electronic format, because now they get cards that they just go back to mom and dad and say, hey, load this. They don't have that emotional attachment. So I get it. I mean, you and I are, I promise, more than anything, we're singing from the same hymn book and usually on the same verse. I think it's something that's just it's gonna continue to kind of roll downhill as far as that's concerned.
Well, Travis, I know that we appreciate everything that you do for your customers, and that it's important for people to take a look at their finances, especially as they head down into the fourth quarter of their lives, and say, this is what I want for, to be able to retire comfortably. And people like you are the ones who can navigate that a lot better than those of us who don't even if we're retired, we don't have the day-to-day expertise or time to sit down, or don't want to sit down and make all these decisions. And that's where you come in.
Absolutely, Bill. I read an article really quickly. I read an article this morning. It just hurt my heart, because it said 44% of baby boomers, from Business Insider, said 44% of baby boomers are underprepared and undersaved for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I think a lot of people face is they put undue stress on themselves by trying to navigate and do these things on their own. Mm-hmm. They don't give themselves the freedom to know that if you have a plan on how you're going to navigate these unexpected landmines, usually your path is so much clearer, so much easier to walk, and so much more enjoyable. And that's what we do for our clients, is we help them make sense of this crazy, crazy world we live in, because things change and they happen in a split second, in the snap of your fingers. But if you don't have a plan on how you're going to address these things as they pop up, you're just subjecting yourself to a retirement that you're not going to enjoy. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can do better, and that's what we help our clients do, is enjoy their retirement. And if they would like to reach out because they're a listener of your show, 20-minute Ask Us Anything session, give us a call, 877-269-0839, when we'll be happy to take a look and help you figure out how you can improve your situation. And we've also got our classes coming up as well. So they can go on our website at chancefinancialgroup.com, look at our events page, and find out if one of the classes in their area is going to be convenient for them.
Excellent. All right, Travis, we sure appreciate it. As had a little saying that my fourth grade teacher had up on the board or above the board, one that said, "Those who fail to prepare are preparing to fail." So you're right on with that, and we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week. Have a great time.
Thanks, Bill. Have a great week.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay. So there you have it. Brittany, it's amazing. One of the things that was when 401ks first came out, and I started saving. I was at WJCL television at the time, and I took one out, and it said, by 2015, you'll have this much. If you deposit this, and this by 2015 with these interest rates, you should have approximately so many $1 million. And I'm sitting there, and this was like 1986. And I'm like,
that was the year I was born.
Yeah, I'm like 2015. That's 1 million years from now. I was in my mid 40s, and it didn't. Believe me. And here it is, and past. 2015 is in the rearview mirror. Start now, and if you haven't started, for God's sakes, get going.
Yeah, and I love his perspective on things. I think we get wrapped up, especially, I was just talking to Bill this morning about how wrapped up we get into politics, and you feel helpless. And so I think having someone like Travis is really, really helpful, because he is so optimistic about things. And he's like, you can still make money. Things are bad, but let's make some money. So I like it.
I mean, he puts it, he doesn't have any specific stock. He puts these things in as they say, in different groups. And okay, one stock didn't make it this month. Another one did twice as good as last month. So you balance it. You don't put all your eggs in one basket, as the old saying goes. You go into these group sales and these I can't think of the term right offhand. Just a bunch of stocks,
like a portfolio.
Portfolio, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the way to do it. So don't panic if the market does terrible one day. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So there's never been a 10-year period in the history of the Dow Jones that they didn't make money. There wasn't a profit.
Well, and I think also just like Travis was saying, like there's so many people that are unprepared. So I mean, let someone help you with it.
And you hear these politicians all the time demonizing Wall Street. Well, where do you think these businesses that employ people and these businesses that make money are how do they exist? And most of them a lot of them are on Wall Street, except the small mom and pop operations. But at the same time, they have to depend on suppliers that are probably big business. Mm-hmm. And when McDonald's started, Ray Kroc started McDonald's, and he started ordering from a little tiny bakery in his hometown, and he was impressed with the fact that they were always delivered on time, always had what he ordered, and it was fresh. It wasn't they didn't say yesterday's bread and biscuits. They sold you this was while most
those
people
were the good
asleep.
old days, Bill.
Yeah, I know.
The preservatives.
No, that's not a little bakery anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet not. And Steve Stanton Sr. said, if I had your money, Bill, I'd burn mine. Apparently you're rich.
Oh yeah. I just do this for fun.
Yeah.
Sirree. I have so much I have to take it out to the dump every. I'm glad. Give me your address. See, we can come by and I'll hand you some off. I have to take it to the dump to get rid of it every week.
Oh my gosh, it's too funny. Well, I wish you'd share. Bill, the good news is I think we're seeing the turning of the tide.
I do too.
People are allowed to tell jokes. I think that there was a comedy special that came out. Dave Chappelle, he actually had quite a joke about Madison Cawthorn and him being in a wheelchair. And I mean, he did not expect Madison Cawthorn to actually buy a ticket when he was in town. And he was there for the joke. And he said he hung out with Dave Chappelle. They had a great time. And he's like, the thing about conservatives is we can take a joke. Like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you see Taylor Swift's reaction to the joke at the Golden Globes?
Yeah, she was not happy. She took a sip of her wine like she was going to with some dagger. So she was not happy about the joke. But
the guy, in case you didn't hear, the guy just said the great thing about the Golden Globes is that we'll have less pictures or less shots of Taylor Swift than the NFL.
Yes, well, which was
and
true.
somebody did the counting one time. There was a New York Jets game and a Kansas City New York Jets game where I think they cut away 17 times to show Taylor.
Ridiculous.
17.
Ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But there is a guy who he is doing comedy. We played him last week on the show, but he's not done.
No.
Like our country's falling apart, and then they're like, the woke people are like, "Oh, this country was built on racism." It's like maybe we should do more of that. Maybe that was working. You guys like the railroad? Wasn't built by the LGBTs, I'll tell you that.
You have to be able to laugh, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
We need some comedic relief, and I'm just so glad that there are now comedians coming on the scene, not afraid to tell the jokes that are so inappropriate, but they are true to life and hilarious.
Why do you think they do that in Hollywood? In the movies, you got some horror movies or some really dramatic scene, and then there's something that funny happens along next to it called comic relief. Why do you think they do that?
I don't know that it's happening.
The tension.
Well, I don't think it's happening that much anymore.
Well, it may not be, but
the Hollywood movies are terrible.
But once upon a time, it was like this is how you get the crowd involved. Okay, you're scaring them to death, but all of a sudden here comes this funny joke about something, even though it may be related to the plot itself, and that kind of relieves the tension or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Steve Stanton Sr. says you guys have a deal. So there you go. And we appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, you can go to thelocalspin.com. You can become a member. you can advertise with us, and you can subscribe. So we appreciate all the support you guys give us. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, for that Facebook purgatory. We'll see you then.